Well, let's move on to a little Q&A. Let's kind of dip into some questions from the audience. We got a lot of great questions already I want to dive into. Kyle's asking, okay, question. And this might be George's thing, because George is our D23 Expo guy. So he says, question, going to D23 Expo and Oogie Boogie Bash all the way from the East Coast. Am I going to regret spending... East Coast? Am I going to regret spending this money on this over a week at Walt Disney World Parks? I'll let you handle that, George.
Yeah.
I've never been to Disney World, and you're the D23 guy, so go ahead.
Well, Kyle, I first have to say, actually, everything that you just said in your question is basically me. I'm going to the D23 Expo. I'm going to Oogie Boogie Bash, and I'm from the East Coast. And, I get this question actually a lot now that I've been going to Disneyland more frequent, as opposed to also going to Walt Disney World. Me personally, just speaking of the Expo and Oogie Boogie Bash, plus intermixing that with Disneyland, you can't go wrong. So I'm telling you, man, you're not wasting any money there. Disneyland with Oogie Boogie Bash, and then you're going to tie that in with the Expo. I think that would be awesome, especially if you are coming from the East Coast. Because if you're someone like me that doesn't get too many opportunities to go to Disneyland, anything that I could get my butt over to California to experience, I say go for it. As far as the second part, is it better compared to Walt Disney World? Again, it goes back to the fact that you can't really say one over the other. But if you're given the opportunity to experience Oogie Boogie Bash and experience Disneyland and tie it to the Expo, I would highly recommend doing that. Then go into Walt Disney World, because us East Coasters, we can go to Walt Disney World more frequent than Disneyland.
And Kyle, I do want to ask you real quick before you go on, George. Kyle, if you're still here in the chat, let us know, is this your first time going to Disneyland? Is this your very first time ever? And is it your first time ever going to D23? So go ahead, George. I just wanted to ask him that, because that also changes the equation.
Well, actually, what's actually funny, I was actually just going to ask that. That was actually what I was going to say. It's a huge difference that if this is going to be your first time experience at Disneyland, as opposed to Walt Disney World, because they're two different beasts. They're like apples and oranges. They're equally delicious, but they have two very different tastes. And me personally, if you haven't been to Disneyland, or even if you have, sometimes you could get a little bit more fulfilled at Disneyland than you can at Walt Disney World right now, because Mr. Vaskai and I were just talking about this on a recent Citrus Corner episode, where is Walt Disney World Parks going to expand, and talking about Animal Kingdom and how they only have 7 attractions right now at Animal Kingdom. And if they were to close Dino Land for a refurb or change it to something else, it shortens your day even more. Sure. You don't get that at Disneyland.
No, you get 7 at Disneyland. You get 7 attractions before you hit the end of before you hit the hub.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Disneyland's not messing around. They got attractions for days,
Okay, so he said second time and first time at D23. So so if it's your second time at Disneyland, even for sure you had a grand time during your first time, but your second time is going to be even better, because now you kind of know what to expect a little bit. And especially since you're going into a new territory, as you're used to Walt Disney World. And then plus with Oogie Boogie Bash, if this is, I'm assuming Oogie Boogie Bash is your first time as well, which you'd absolutely love it. Mr. Vaskai and I did that last year, and we're going to do it this year. So, definitely looking forward to it. And first time at D23, the only thing that I could say to you is don't have your expectations high of seeing every single thing you want to see.
Yeah, no,
be prepared to wait in lines, deal with a lot of crowds, and just make the best out of your day of what you can see.
Good advice. Very, very good advice. I think Kyle, I think you're gonna have a great time, man. And let us know once you have your trip, hit us back up and let us know how it went. I'm very curious.
And anyone who is going to the D23 Expo, I'm going to be there. I'm representing Orange Grove 55. And if you see me, definitely come up, say hello.
Yep.
You know, we'll get a selfie or what have you. We'll go balls to the wall.
There we go. Absolutely. And we got Mr. David.
There you go. Won't have the alert there though, so unfortunately.
And we got Mr. David D. He's asking, will all three of you be at D23? Unfortunately, not. I am not going to be at D23. I missed the boat in terms of buying tickets. They're all sold out now. Mm-hmm. George, like he said, will be. Dre, are you going to D23? I know.
No.
Okay,
no,
so you're not going either.
I've done it once. I'm good.
You're good.
I will be in the area, but I will not be at D23 Expo. No.
I actually, David, I went last time on 2019, and it was pretty cool. We got into the studio panel. It was a lot of fun. I saw Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, actually. We only sat like maybe 3 or 4 rows behind them. I got to say, at that time in 2019, they were pretty chummy. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you weren't going into a segment of WrestleMania.
No, they were chummy back then. I'm telling you. I remember watching the two of them interact. It wasn't just them, it was like their families too. They were really close, man. Like you could tell, like they were really they were, yeah. And boy, has that changed.
that whole dynamic has changed quite a bit there. That is for sure. Now, you know, look,
you know what I like to. Oh, I'm sorry, Dre. I was just going to say how it kind of reminds me of is on The Fox and the Hound, how they started out as friends and then became enemies as time went on, because you have the Fox and the Hound. So bad representation, but you know, that's
look, I've had my share of experiences. You know, you talk about, you know, sitting behind executives. I was, you know, fortunate enough to be on the kind of the floor of the Disney Legends ceremony. Met a lot of great people sitting, you know, right behind Ron Clements and John Musker, actually. So that was pretty cool, you know. And I've had a great experience at D23 Expo once. And I am satisfied with that. So I will have the betters amongst me, like George, for example, go in my stead. How about that?
There we go. And Kyle Bosher, and Kyle, again, man, I am so sorry if I'm like massacring your last name. But Kyle's asking, what do you think is going to happen to the Main Street Electrical Parade after it glows away on September 1st? What do I think is going to happen is I think it's going to glow away and then it'll come right back in a year or two, and Disney needs an attendance boost, because that's what happens all the time. So I'm going to say
this is, I'm getting a shirt for this, folks, and I really mean this. I've said this before and I'll say it again. This parade in general has resurrected more than Christ. Like it is like it's constantly coming back. So if you think that you're disappointed that you're not going to see it moving forward past September 1st, trust me, it'll be back.
Yeah, it's just like Emperor Palpatine.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
It doesn't die, okay? This thing will always be around. Somehow it returned, you know, as Poe said.
Oh yes, it always tends to find its way out in the parks again, right? I believe Disney has long-term storage for 3 parades. I think it's whatever DCA's last parade was, Paint the Night, Electrical Parade, and the Christmas Fantasy Parade. Yep. They're part of the rotation, folks. Don't even worry about it.
But here's the thing too. Dave from Fresh Baked made a video. And I watched his video and I was trying so hard not to get excited, because I'm like, oh, this is just a rumor. This is just like kind of like piecing things together. Sure. But I couldn't help myself. I was like, oh man, maybe he's on something, you know? But the Paint the Night floats are stored away. They haven't been dismantled. His street team took a picture of the Incredibles float in storage.
Right.
It's
very recently.
And he heard a rumor that the costumes for that parade were recently driven back from the Cerritos warehouse to the resort. And he said that in his video. And I'm like, that's interesting. Now, again, there could be 1,001 different reasons why that's the case. Man, I mean, I got a little bit excited. I'm like, oh, maybe this is happening, fam. Maybe this is happening. So we'll see. And again, I don't want to put it out there like it's happening for sure, but look, he brought up a great point in the video that Disney is celebrating their 100th anniversary.
They are.
So they're going to pull out all the stops. So maybe they'll
wait.
do like coming back and have a 100th anniversary float or something. You never know.
Wait a minute. Are you saying is the 100th anniversary? That's maybe when we can do this again? Is that possible?
It's possible. It's possible. So I don't know. I think, look, again, it's all rumor. And Dave says that in his video, all rumor. They're kind of piecing things together, but I don't know. They know. And look at all the money Disney's made with the electrical parade, coming back.
Oh, absolutely.
These popcorn buckets and stuff, right? Like the Elliott and they're selling like hotcakes. And if they brought Paint the Night back, the merch opportunities there are through the roof. I mean, they could do so much, man. I mean, it's just endless, absolutely endless.
Oh, it's endless. They have a gold medallion machine in the Penny Arcade. I mean, this, the way they merchandise these products here. Hey, Disney might not like the locals, but they definitely do cater towards them sometimes in the merch, and they do earn quite a bit, a pretty penny off of them every once in a while.
Every once in a while. And we got Crystal Ray today, which Crystal Ray, I want to thank you so much for being a subscriber for so long. Crystal Ray has been a supporter of the channel since I was doing those videos in front of the bookcase, like solo videos, right? Old school, like 2016, 2017. So Crystal Ray, I appreciate you. I really, really do. And she's saying, when do you think they'll shut down Indiana Jones for a refurb? It seems like it's been breaking down several times a day lately. Yeah.
Breaking down, and also the sparks. Did you see that?
I've got the video right here for you.
Oh, Dre's got the receipts. All right, let's bring it up. Let's bring it up.
Just to provide some clarity to this, folks. This happened very recently, August 14th. So, yesterday. This is Tangaroa Joel here, who tried to go on, and after it had been down several times before, and this is what happened. It's going to happen pretty quick, so hopefully you guys see it here. Let's play it.
We can play it a couple times if we need to.
With audio.
Hello, oh, my friend. Hello, oh, my friend.
That is not good there, folks. Not good there. That is some tough stuff.
I will say, if the Imagineers can make that a controlled effect, that's pretty dope. If that thing can spark as you're going through, oh man, that would be awesome. But all kidding aside, that's not good.
No.
And being strapped in and not being able to get out with the potential of that thing catching fire, I don't know. I'd be stressed now.
And I know that they have to do what they have to do. I mean, especially if it's a safety issue, whenever this ride has to go down for refurb, I really hope that it doesn't during the time that I'm out there, because it's bad enough when we tried getting on Pirates and we couldn't get on it. And then I come back out another time and it's done for a refurb. So, I mean, I would be completely heartbroken if Indiana Jones is down for a refurb when I'm out there. But as I said, if it's because of a safety issue of something like this, it has to be done.
It has to be done. Now, those are individualized vehicles, so like they're pretty much autonomous from the rest of the ride track, and the rest
you can take that one off. And
and apparently they did. Right beyond those, right where it actually had that incident is the maintenance bays, just beyond that area. So luckily, they were probably able to push it back into storage for maintenance later, and it was up later that day, which was good. I mean, that's a good thing to see and hear. But we have had this kind of diminishing maintenance at the resort recently regarding their rides, and that's a variety of factors. One, those labor issues that we were talking about before. So maintenance technicians, obviously, that's going to affect them as well. But not only that, though, but supply chain issues. One of the biggest things keeping major attractions now, not just at their Disneyland Resort, but at other theme park enterprises, all over the world, frankly. But for Disneyland Resort, particularly bad, and Indiana Jones and Radiator Springs Racers to that extent are, maintenance headaches. Those are vehicles. I mean, they have their own tire drive system. They have their own dual axles. They have their own. It's a motion simulator as well, so it's got that kind of complication going on and so forth. I know at Radiator Springs Racers, they've had one heck of a time trying to keep all of those cars in service, because after, I believe, 80,000 miles, they had to be completely redone. So they've had to reduce the amount of cars on the track at any one time in order to prevent that 80,000 mile threshold from coming up. So we've had reduced capacity at that attraction as they try to get along with parts that they've now had on back order since I believe November, and they still haven't come in. So these things are, I expect more of this, folks. Downtime is a major issue right now, as has been relayed by several people who have, or by a number of people, I should say, who have gone to these parks. Expect that to continue.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. And our good friend Showcase of Wishes, we love you, man. We love you. Is asking, when will we hear about Magic Key renewals? Oh, man.
Well, Walt Disney Company's 200th.
Right. Yeah, the 200th anniversary.
Yeah.
This is a fascinating thing. Here's the thing. We know from the quarterly earnings report, Disney doesn't think too fondly. I know a lot of people are taking it personal, right? Like the unfavorable thing. It's not a personal thing. It's just that the Magic Keys don't spend a lot of money. They just don't. And I've been saying this, I've been singing this from the rooftops for a long, long time, that these key holders go into the park for 2 and 3 hours. They buy a popcorn bucket and lunch, or a popcorn bucket and dinner, and they leave. Okay. That's not a lot of money when you're talking about the overall, right? And look, even the highest pass, $1,400, you only have to go 6 or 7 times to pay that pass off. And we know a lot of key holders pay that off in about maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Let's be honest. Okay. So they're not making a lot of money on them. And so look, to Showcase's question, when will we hear about it? I don't know, man. I mean, I would think like people are already starting to fall off the system now. People's passes are already starting to expire.
Yep.
And they don't seem to really be in any hurry. Now, I do think that Marty mentioned here, which relates to Showcase's question, said that, did you guys see the Magic Key renewal page went live for a minute via testing today? I did see that. Did you gentlemen see that as well online?
I saw the article about it. Didn't encounter it myself, but I saw the article, and it looked like it had a web page screenshot listed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Here, I'll bring it up here.
Yeah, bring it up, and I'll go ahead and share it. I don't know. I mean, that quarterly earnings, they really made it clear that they want to minimize the pass holders, not get rid of them, but minimize them because it's an unfavorable mix. And I just think that I just don't think they're in any hurry. And we'll see. So that's what happened today. They were testing it. Please sit tight. The queue to renew Magic Keys will open soon. I don't know. And it also begs the question, what are we going to renew into? Is it the same program, or is it going to be a new reimagined program that we're renewing into? That's a whole nother can of worms.
That's a whole nother can of worms. And even if they don't reimagine this system, which I don't think they'll do, at least extensively, not as of yet, the likelihood that you're going to be able to renew into the tier that you had before is also a diminishing prospect as time goes on. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of movement in this space. I know people are frustrated. I know people are kind of passionate. And unfortunately, that linked up with some maybe undesirable comments included in the quarterly earnings sheet. But look, those things are for investors. They have to be represented in some way. They have to use some kind of language, and that's kind of what was said there. Now, listen, if you think that language is bad, let me tell you a story about Salim Basul, the CEO of Six Flags, where he said, and I quote, he called, I'll read you this here. In recent internal calls, Salim has said that the clientele of their parks needed to change. He compared Six Flags to Walmart and their goal to become Target. Essentially calling, people, Walmart customers in not so many words.
And
he
promote,
said that,
and promote them to Target customers.
Yes,
is basically what he's saying.
He said that in order to become successful, we needed to eliminate, quote, lower class guests from entering the park to improve the overall experience better for those with more money. In one call, he alluded to the dining pass, quote, abusers, and they shouldn't use the plans as an add-on to their food stamps they're likely already receiving. I mean, it was
Wow, man.
it was quite a thing. He also went on to say that that the parks were being used as pseudo daycare centers for teens and so forth like that. I mean, they were very very scathing. So look, the unfavorable comment, I get that people are taking it personal, and again, like I said, the timing couldn't have been worse with Magic Keys, kind of in this limbo period, right? Like I said, though, it could be much much worse.
Oh yeah, it could be. And man, I can't. I'm not going to bring up the tweet, but there was a tweet from a friend of ours, Nitro, today, and I thought he made a good point. Where people have been kind of like this. The Magic Keys have been kind of like complaining about reservations and kind of rooting for this class action suit against Disney, right? Oh yeah. What do you think is going to happen, y'all? Like, what do you think is going to happen when you tie everything up with this legal civil suit, all this other stuff? Of course it's going to mess up your renewal, of course. So just be careful what you root for, because now it's biting everyone in the ass. I mean, that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying.
I was rooting for the lawsuit, but I'm not a pass holder. I'm not a Magic Key holder.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see that issue resolved for sure. But again, though, that was going to inevitably have complication when it came to the Magic Key service going forward. And I don't know why people were necessarily surprised with that. I mean, the wheels of justice, they grind slow, but they grind fine. That's just kind of the crux of it. It really is an unfortunate situation, though. And look, listen, when you have the quarterly earnings call, come out with those comments on favorability, they're going to get to a favorable mix, hook or by crook. That's just what's going to happen. And when we go into this holiday season, don't be surprised if the pass that you want maybe necessarily isn't available, as Disney tries to capitalize on the rush of domestic and international tourists coming to their parks during a very highly profitable time for them.
100%. And then we got Justin Doyle here asking, can Disney have a special pass just for vloggers and that only allow them for special events? Now that's interesting, Justin, that you kind of add that at the end, that only allow them for special events. That's interesting. I thought they kind of already do, though. Like I've never been asked to an event. Like I've never been like approached by Disney to come to our event or come ride this early. I've never been asked,
Sure.
But I thought that's kind of already the case, though, with these special events, is that they reach out, the media teams reach out to like Laughing Place or Mice Chat, and they get like special vouchers or whatever to go to these special events. It's like a one-time thing. I thought that's already the case. Now, Dre, you did, though, propose a while ago of having an AP just for vloggers.
Yes.
If you want to elaborate on that and kind of like let Justin know because I don't know if Justin's been watching us for a while, kind of let the audience and let Justin know where you were going with that idea.
The idea is that you solve two issues, right? You solve the issue of vloggers maybe not getting the level of access that they want or need for their channels. And in doing so, you promote the parks, you promote their experiences, you promote new, maybe smaller items. Now, look, when it comes to media passes and so forth, yes, there are media passes that go out there, but they're usually limited to kind of bigger events, not the newest churro on Main Street, for example, right? You're not getting a media pass for that. But the vlogger pass would solve that issue. But you'd also have the second tertiary benefit of kind of inculcating a culture amongst the vloggers, right? That, hey, this vlogger pass comes with special privileges, but it also comes with special responsibilities that you need to uphold amongst yourselves. And it would set kind of unlisted bylaw, so to speak, for these vloggers to kind of keep to, and to kind of like refrain from disturbing guests with live streams, for example, or any other of the various activities associated with vloggers today. You would kind of minimize that with a vlogger pass. with these kind of unlisted rules, so to speak. So I thought that, and you could have it where, vloggers beyond a certain threshold in terms of subscribers and so forth are good for it and so forth. There are ways you can do it, and I felt that was appropriate. For special events, like you said, OG, they do have them, just not for smaller things like I said, churros on Main Street.
Right. Now, the only concern I have with a vlogger pass is the shilling. Because when vloggers are depending now on Disney to give them their annual pass,
that's access media.
The shilling is going to be through the roof.
Oh yeah,
I mean it's going to be very agenda driven, and that look.
But for Disney's perspective, it works out, doesn't it?
Oh, for that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, if you can't beat them, join them and control them, and that's absolutely from a business perspective, from a PR perspective. Oh, Disney, that's chef's kiss, baby.
Money in the bank.
Kiss. I mean, that's money in the bank, but it definitely, I think, would cultivate a little bit more of that.
Oh, yes.
It's like we talked about before, like with sponsors and stuff and everything. Whenever there's sponsors involved, it ties people up, right? And I think that might tie some vloggers up because now they're like, well, I don't want to make the mouse mad. My vlogger pass kind of depends on it,
Yeah, I mean, it's a way to do it. I believe WDW Pro, actually, when he was a guest on our channel, actually talked about that access journalism and so forth. I believe he began his commentary that he provided on the channel for that when it came to the website, that Park Place and so forth. That's definitely a thing, and I think that would definitely be be enhanced, right? That kind of behavior with a vlogger pass. But from Disney's perspective, they want their they want their products and their company to be represented as best as it can be. So it would solve that issue as well, at least for
100%,
them.
100%. And this one, I'm going to shoot this over to George. He's our local D23 Expo expert. Casual, our good friend Casual, is asking, would they really have D23 Expo without a nighttime parade? Paint the Night coming back on Expo opening night would be pretty special. What do you think about that, George?
That I actually would be quite interesting because I do know that Disney loves to tie in special things going on, special activities like throughout the parks tied with the expo, because a lot of people, well, now that they didn't need reservations, but even before you needed park reservations, people would purposely get park tickets even on the day of the expo, where they would spend the day at the convention center and then go over to one of the parks for the evening.
Wouldn't that be a dope thing, by the way, at the end of the parks panel, that everybody in the audience gets a special ticket to go to DCA afterwards and see the opening of Paint the Night or something?
That would be cool because that has happened.
Really?
Yes, that has happened. And I can't recall what it was for.
So there's precedent for it, so it can happen again. I think that would be wonderful. I think that would be a great way to treat your
I
biggest
have
fans.
to get back to you fellas on that, because I do know, I think it was during the very first expo back in 2009. And it was during the parks presentation or one of the panels that they were announcing, and they said everybody who is in the attendance of the audience today is going over to Disneyland for, I don't know if it was for, I cannot remember. I have to, it escapes me, but that's not a far-fetched idea, Vash, because that has happened before.
Now, Marty Snyder is saying they can't run Paint the Night with the holiday food booths. I understand that, but you could have a limited run that occurs right before the holiday season where those food booths are installed. Does make it a complicating factor, but yes, you bring up a good point.
I'm sorry,
I do think they can overcome it.
It wasn't. I don't think it was the first expo. Matt Landgrave just confirmed it was the Phantasmic 2.0.
Oh, see, that's really cool, man. So there's precedent for it, and with nighttime entertainment specifically, I think you could do it, and I think it'd be a nice way to treat your most loyal fans.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. Now we do have another question from USC Greg.
Sure.
And he's saying Mondo, 5 fires.
5 fires. I love that guy.
Yeah, no, Mondo's dope. I love Mondo, man. I'm in his live stream every now and then. Like, what's up, man? Like, he's always super friendly. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, him and Danny, good stuff.
And Danny, absolutely. But Greg is saying Mondo has been defending the Magic Key spenders, not unfavorable. His argument is that they are the ones who buy all the specialty merch and new foods. I mean, that's not entirely like incorrect. I mean, he's right on that.
Right.
But in the overall scope of things, the key holders don't really spend a lot of money. And it kind of goes back, Greg, to what I was saying earlier, where after like 5 or 6 visits, the pass is paid for and the key holders go in and they buy, like you said, the popcorn bucket, which is specialty merch, and the new food, and they leave. Really, they go into the park and they spend $37 and they leave. That's not a lot of money. It really isn't. And that's the problem. That's the problem. And they're only there for 2 or 3 hours. You know, it's not a whole day. And they take that spot, though, for someone else, a day ticketer or somebody who could have spent the whole day. That's the issue.
And let's not be confused here, too. Look, I love Mondo. I do. But let's not be confused. They've been able to monetize the pass holders, the Magic Key holders, and the locals and so forth to a great extent. I'm not saying that they haven't. But you can't get around the fact that, domestic tourists or international tourists, they'll spend up to, $1,000, $1,500, maybe even $2,000 a day when they're actually there. Who would you want to necessarily fill the park with day in, day out? There's no question. There's not even some math there. Now, look, they can still have those great, new merchandise drops and so forth. You could do it at World of Disney out in downtown Disney just as easily.
Right.
Now, can't you? And you don't necessarily have to, give up a slot for somebody just coming up there for a Mickey popcorn bucket. It's these are things that these kind of implementations to get this more favorable mix that they bring out there at the quarterly earnings report. Don't be surprised if you see more of that in the future.
No, 100%. And look, Chapek and Christine Waithlines McCarthy, they're privy to the data. They're privy to the actual numbers, right?
Yep.
And a lot of key holders, what they'll do is they'll go, oh, well, look, the parks are packed. It's because of key holders. And that's probably true. But the thing is that body, and Dre, we've pounded this point a million times into the ground, but it has to be said, bodies in the park, for the sake of bodies in the park, don't do Disney any good. I mean, just people like just being in the park, not spending any money doesn't help Disney. And we're seeing that. The parks are busy right now. And Chapek came out and said, unfavorable mix, they're not making the money. Because the key holders come in, they pop in and out, they don't spend a lot. And if you were to have tourism, more tourism dollars, more day ticket dollars, you would be getting a lot better mix in terms of like the money on Disney's end. You would be seeing that. And the key holders are just kind of like the equivalent of kind of empty calories in a lot of way, because it's kind of like a lot of people, but there's no real substance there in terms of like, the
monetization, revenue generation power is just not there.
It's not there. It's just not there. So I do think they're going to reimagine this program. It might not be this renewal. I don't know, but Disney has been hard pressed for a long time now to reconfigure this whole situation. Especially with a guy like Chapek, man, he's looking at those numbers going, oh, we're giving away the farm. We're giving it away.
And this mentality, this is not a new thing. This was being done as early as the Michael Eisner, Paul Pressler era. That was the whole idea behind the Disneyland Resort, to set it up more like a Walt Disney World style destination resort with the Grand Californian, Paradise Pier Hotel, and Disney California Adventure. They just never were able to achieve that. And now when they're on the precipice of actually doing so, they're going to stop at nothing in order to achieve their end goal.
No, 100%. What do you think, George, on this whole topic?
Yeah, I mean, I echo what you guys say. It's like, it doesn't matter. You can have 50,000 people in the park, if they are there for 2 to 3 hours and they're not spending and, no revenues coming in, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have 50,000. You could have then 10,000 people in the park and they're buying merch, they're buying food, they're there throughout the whole entire day. You're capitalizing more on the 10,000 as opposed to the 50,000 that are there just for 2 to 3 hours.
And I will say, I'll defend the unfavorables a little bit. I do think it was a very short-sighted thing by Christine Waistlines McCarthy and others, right? to short shrift portion sizes and to increase costs as aggressively as they did, at least when it comes to food for the Disneyland Resort. As you know, Walt Disney World, you can kind of get away with that because it's the bubble, right? And it's going to be a long time until you hit alternative food options off property. Disneyland Resort, not necessarily the case. So when you do, limit portion sizes to the extent they have and raise prices as much as they have, while you still have a kind of a local population there, that could be a little bit of an issue. So I'll defend the unfavorables a little bit. I think they're more willing to spend money if you have a good product in order to sell. And at this kind of point in time, especially with the cost of living, as we said, in California and so forth, that might be a little bit of an issue. That might be there might be really hindrance for revenue opportunities and growth there. So it's look, if the locals paid more money than domestic tourists, international tourists, they'd be selling Magic Keys right now. That's just the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
And they don't.
Because they don't.
But it goes back to the same notion of, and I'm not going to say who they are, but I bet you a lot of people aren't going to know who I'm talking about, that you can take a reservation for the last hour before park closes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay, 5 minutes. There we go. 5 minutes, even better. 5 minutes. You walk up to the castle and then have someone give you $20 just because you're in there for 5 minutes and you're going live. That $20 isn't going to Disney.
And you took up a reservation slot for the whole day away from somebody who probably would have stayed there the whole day, had 2 or 3 meals, gotten the merch, maybe make a reservation at Savi's Workshop, Oga's Cantina. I mean, come on. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous.
It drives me crazy. USC Greg says it would be wise to not allow Dream Key holders to renew. I think that key is giving Disney trouble. Well, yeah, it is. That's actually the class action suit is all because of that Dream Key.
Absolutely.
Five Fires Mondo did a poll yesterday, and 70% would renew the Dream, 18% the Believe, and 12% the rest. That's fascinating.
Wow. That's really interesting.
Man.
Now, you understand there when it comes to that poll, think about who's watching. But it is very, very interesting. I mean, I've heard the rate for Dream Keys as high as 35%, maybe even more. That's kind of the what I've been able to suss out in terms of the breakdown.
Wow,
it's a lot, and when you have free parking attached to that, when you have a limited no blackout dates, essentially, right? I know the language will be changing here shortly, but when you have that level of access, people are going to use it, and. Let's be honest here. Disney kind of rushed this out. They rushed out the system. They were talking about a loyalty program, didn't go in that direction, and now they're all paying for it. And with the amount of access that people got for all this time, right, from I believe January, probably December, January-ish, to all the way to now, people were talking about, we're getting a nice level of access, right? Where this bucket thing is actually working in our favor. Well, there was a cost to be incurred with that.
Yep.
There was a debt accruing, and as Disney recognized in the quarterly earnings report, and as they will remedy now, they're looking to pay back that debt, so to speak. So,
and that's the issue. Is there's a big disconnect with what the Magic Keys think they're providing to the resort and what they actually are. So the Magic Key thought, we're the bread and butter, but they're really not, and that's the thing. And look, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm a local. I have a lot of the same practices a lot of Magic Keys have. I go in for a few hours and I leave. I'm guilty of it too. So this is self-awareness here, guys. Right? This is self-awareness here. Yeah. But look, the fact is the Magic Keys weren't bringing in the revenue. And Disney knew they didn't bring in the revenue. That's why the buckets were so heavily skewed to those tourism day ticketers in the beginning. And it wasn't until the key holders complained, and it wasn't until the class action suit that Disney opened up those key holder buckets. And then that's why we got the unfavorable comment at the quarterly earnings, because their hand was forced. Initially, Disney didn't want to have the buckets the way they were, but the complaints and the class action forced them into it. And now they're paying for it financially, and it's not good. It's not good, my friends.
Hey, I just thought of something. I saw Showcase's comment about DCA only Magic keys. That's an interesting thing because Paul Presser was actually looking to do that with DCA originally. They would have a separate annual pass only for DCA, and then a separate annual pass only for Disneyland. That didn't go very far for very long, obviously, with the disastrous opening that DCA incurred when it initially opened. But George, I think I come up with a solution. You can reinstate Dream Keys, but only out of state. How about them apples?
There you go.
Yes, there you go.
I'd be all for that.
There you go. I like that.
And then I got one more question before George has to head out. We'll continue the party, Dre, but I think George has to head out. He's on the East Coast, so it's a lot later over there. And he's a family man.
He is the family man. He's got the family. He's got the work. Man, that's crazy. That's insane.
and I'm telling you, George, 10:30. Man, you're a stronger man than I am, dude. I'm in bed by like 9:15. 9:15.
I'm an original party animal.
You are, dude. You are. But this question, though, I want you to stay after this question. But I want to go to you first with this. Michael Wilson's asking, do you anticipate Chapek will receive boos from the crowd at D23?
I think this is a situation where, given the opportunity, I think people would. Mind you, I think it's childish. I think it's immature. I think it's uncalled for. Regardless of whether or not that you disagree with someone or not, you don't have to go to this level, especially in an open crowd setting that can stir up something that can cause even more issues. Like fights breaking out or what have you, and disruption, and them even having to shut down the whole entire presentation just because you want to get your feel at booing someone. Having said that, I think Disney is going to have this in mind, especially when he is presented to come out onto the stage. And I think that they will probably have a pre-announcement, sort of kind of like what they do during the Hall of Presidents. Right. No booing, no vulgar language, no disruption. Let's just keep it a wholesome, family-friendly have a wholesome family attitude during this. And I don't think they'll specifically say Chapek, but everyone will get to know what they're actually referring to.
Beard man bad. I got you.
There we go. Beard man bad. I actually don't think he's going to get any boos. I don't know if they're going to enforce some sort of no boo policy or what have you, but I don't think he will. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy isn't really like super loved, in the Star Wars community. And she gets out there at Star Wars Celebration every year or every other year, whenever they do it, and she's fine. I think people are very much anticipating something that probably won't happen. I think people are different in person anyway, compared to when they're behind a keyboard on the internet. And I think once you get there, people sort of will be professional and sort of courteous to him and just sort of let him do his thing. I really don't see.
And I hope that's the case. I would hope that us as a community, because I would be embarrassed to know that I'm affiliated with a community that now is like force themselves to the point where it's like you have to be very childish and almost teenager like. I'm sorry, folks, but it's the truth that you have to subdue yourself to these kind of actions. And it's like, don't, and anyone who's listening that you may know someone who may want to cause a stir up, just let's keep it friendly. Let's keep it positive, and let's see what the man has to say. Let's see what he's going to do. Right. Because then, I mean, now if he ends up bringing out another damn Target dog, then we could talk about another.
There you go. Yeah. Now it's okay to boo.
Now it's okay to boo.
Yeah.
100%.
Listen, it's a fascinating thing. Now, look, I understand the equivocation to Kennedy, and I think that's fair. I'll say this though, OG. Where is the D23 Expo taking place this year?
Anaheim.
Okay. Do you think that there might be a disproportionate level of locals there that might be a little bit ticked off over the Magic Key situation and so forth?
Could be. Yeah, it could be.
Okay, so there's already one notch against them.
That's a notch. Yeah, that's a notch.
And look, I don't know what'll happen. I'm kind of 50-50 with it. Will there be boos?
That's why I think that they'll cover their ass. I really do. I
They'll
think
do
that
something.
they're gonna make an announcement, nothing specific, but just to kind of put out the point, let's just keep it friendly.
Well, and here's the other thing too, is I'm part of this community, and I've been a pass holder for a while, long time, since 2003, I believe.
Sure.
I really hope that the key holders don't go up there and start booing them because of they're mad about their renewals. We already have a terrible reputation. You said like the whole pass hole moniker. That's been a thing for like a decade or more.
Yes.
Please do not boo and just cement that whole image that Disney already has of pass holders and that like toxic sort of thing. Like that's the thing that bothers me. It's like the booing him isn't going to change anything. He's not going to be like, oh, you know what? I got booed. I guess I got to, do what they want. Guys, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Like
it's just going to make things worse for yourself. That's all it's going to do. It's just going to make you look, But before you guys move on, I know this is a awesome, robust discussion. I would love to stick around and continue the party, but unfortunately, as Mr. Vashkai says, a family man's job is never done. So unfortunately, I have to leave the party a little early. You fellas keep that party rolling and keep the questions coming out. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Keep on rolling. Thank you for the questions. I will say that if you are going to be in the Disneyland area for the D23 Expo, going to be in the parks from September 4th to September 14th, I will be on location. So check out my my Twitter account at Disney George. I will be posting a lot of photos, a lot of activity going on. So if you happen to see me or you want to meet up, let me know, and we'll definitely make that happen. So if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on my YouTube channel at Disney Family Man 23. As I mentioned before, you can interact with me on Twitter at Disney George. And of course, you can find me here on Orange Grove 55 at Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but yet sticky Disney news and info.
100%. We love you, family man. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Get some sleep, and we'll see you next time, brother.
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, Alia, if you're still on there, I did see your comment. I will be looking out for that Disneyland Hotel 2023 opening date. So thank you so much for that heads up. I'll definitely check that out.
Very
Perfect.
cool.
Later, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Later, brother. Thank you.